I'm really, really honored tonight to be able to introduce someone who actually probably doesn't need much of an introduction to this crowd. Patrisse Cullors is a visionary. She's a community organizer. She's an artist. She's a parent. She's a sister. And she's someone who's really inspired a lot of us. And in a lot of ways, the work that Black Lives Matter has done inspired the Pōpolo Project in a lot of ways. Patrisse is one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, which was founded in the summer of 2013, fueled by the acquittal granted to George Zimmerman after his murder of Trayvon Martin. And they started with a hashtag that went global and started to shine a light on the pervasive violence that's done to Black bodies around the world, and really looking at organizing and creating solidarity in spaces all around the world, and that includes here in Hawaii. I encourage you to check out Patrisse's website. She has an amazing bio. She has won all kinds of awards for her work. She's been named the NAACP History Maker. She's been a finalist for the Advocates Person of the Year. She's a civil rights leader of the 21st century, and I could go on and on. This is someone who is excellent and committed in her work. And in the last year or so, she's been kind of expanding her profile and the work that she's doing as an author. She has written this really moving memoir, When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir, and has traveled around the world sharing her words and her experience with all of us. So rather than continue to tell you all about Patrisse, I'm gonna let Patrisse tell you about herself through her words and her reading. So Patrisse. Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. Good to be back. So I wrote a book, and it's about my life and this moment, and I want to read the introduction to y'all. We are stardust. I write to keep in contact with our ancestors and to spread truth to people. Sonia Sanchez. Days after the elections of 2016, a friend sends me a link to talk about astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. We have to have hope, she says to me across 3,000 miles. She in Brooklyn, me in Los Angeles. We listen together as Dr. deGrasse Tyson explains that the very atoms and molecules in our bodies are traceable to the crucibles in the centers of the stars that once upon a time exploded into gas clouds. And those gas clouds formed other stars, and those stars possessed the divine right mix of properties needed to create not only planets, including our own, but also people, including us, me and her. He is saying that not only are we in the universe, but that the universe is in us. He is saying that we, human beings, are literally made out of stardust. And I know when I hear Dr. deGrasse Tyson say this, that he is telling the truth because I have seen it since I was a child. The magic, the stardust that we are, and the lives of the people I come from. I watched it in the labor of my mother, a Jehovah's Witness and a woman who worked 2 and sometimes 3 jobs at a time, keeping other people's children, working the reception desks at gyms, telemarketing, doing anything and everything for 16 hours a day, the whole of my childhood in the Van Nuys barrio where we lived. My mother, cocoa brown and smooth, disowned by her family for the children she had at a very young age. My mother never giving up despite never making a living wage. I saw it in the thin brown face of my father, a boy out of Cajun country, a wounded healer whose addictions were born of a world that did not love him and told him so not once but constantly. My father who always came back, who never stopped trying to be a version of himself there were no mirrors for. And I knew it because I am the 13th generation progeny of a people who survived the hulls of slave ships, survived the chains, the whips, the months laying in their own shit and piss, the human beings legislated as not human beings, who watched their names, their languages, their goddesses and gods, the arc of their dances and beats of their songs, the majesty of their drums, their very families snatched up and stolen, disassembled and discarded, and despite this built language, and honored God and created movement and upheld love. What could they be but stardust? These people who refused to die, who refused to accept the idea that their lives did not matter, that their children's lives did not matter. Our foreparents imagined our families out of whole cloth. They imagined each individual one of us. They imagined me. They had to. It's the only way I'm here today, a mother and a wife, a community organizer and queer, an artist and a dreamer, learning to find hope while navigating the shadows of hell, even as I know it might have been otherwise. I was not expected or encouraged to survive. My brothers and little sister, my family, the one I was born into and the one I created, we're not expected to survive. We lived a precarious life on the tightrope of poverty bordered at each end with the politics of personal responsibility that Black pastors and then the first Black president preach. They preached more than they preached a commitment to collective responsibility. They preached it more than they preached about what it meant to be the world's wealthiest nation, and yet the place with extraordinary unemployment, extraordinary lack of livable wages, and extraordinary disruption of basic opportunity. And they preached that more than they preached about America having 5% of the world's population, but 25% of its prison population, a population which for a long time included my disabled brother and father who never raised a hand to another. And a prison population with extraordinary deliberation today excludes the man who shot and killed a 17-year-old boy who was carrying Skittles and iced tea. I carry the memory of living under that terror, the terror of knowing that I or any member of my family could be killed with impunity, in my blood, my bones, and every step I take, and yet I was called a terrorist. The members of our movement are called terrorists. We, me, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi, the 3 women who founded Black Lives Matter, are called terrorists. We the people, we are not terrorists. I am not a terrorist. I am Patrisse Marie Cullors Brickneck. I am a survivor. I am Stardust.